Okay, so welcome to this first in a regular series of podcasts from Aviation Business News, ABN Cast. We're really delighted that we're being supported in this by our friends at Amadeus, who are our launch sponsor for ABN Cast. And for this first one, we're bringing two of the most important people in ABN to you, our two editors, who I'll introduce you to in a minute, who work on our 4 magazine titles. And we're just going to have a quick chat about what they're up to, some of the key themes and issues that they're dealing with currently in the sector, and some of the things that are coming up as well, because we're getting into a fairly busy period for events. My name's Lee Hayhurst. I'm the editorial director of ABN, and you'll hear me a fair amount on ABN Cast, but we'll be hearing from Craig and Greg a lot. So let's introduce them. So first we've got Craig Waters. Welcome, Craig. Craig is editor of MRO Management and Air Cargo Management. And we've got Greg Whitaker, who's the editor of Aircraft Cabin Management and Low Cost and Regional Airline Business. So welcome, guys. Good to see you in the ABN studio. Let's crack on with Craig first. Look, you've both come from different backgrounds, so a bit about you guys initially, and you've both been in the business less than a year still. Craig, rail was your background. You were covering rail for a long time. Just some thoughts on what you've discovered in aviation, how it differs, and what it's like compared to the rail industry, and some thoughts on what the industry is like, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, you say anything that's different. Well, actually, I think what I found quite quickly after joining was that rail and aviation were very much similar. In the sense that there's a few topics that immediately jumped out to me as being quite the same. So we've got things like bouncing back from COVID.
Yep.
The rail industry massively impacted. So was aviation. So I've been seeing a lot of words around how the industry is bouncing back. Sustainability, massive topic. Technology and digitalisation. And people and workforces. So those kind of 4 key topics, I think I found have what I learn't in rail is kind of helping me understand what's going on in aviation.
And those obviously reflect what we relaunched Aviation Business News last year, and so those 3 topics of sustainability, people and workplaces, and tech and digitisation are what we've picked out as being key things. And I mean, all industries are dealing with that, but aviation in particular. So that's something we want to be talking about a lot from going forward. Obviously, with MRO, your MRO hat on, it's engineering, it's operations, it's very, very technical. Mm-hmm. Some people in this for a lifetime and still don't know everything about the intricacies of an aircraft engine, for instance. What are you learning in that sense? And how is that compared to rail? Rail, not quite so technical, but at the end of the day, it's about moving people from one place to another, isn't it?
Exactly. I think I'm learning a lot. I picked up quite a few keywords over in the rail sector, so things like predictive maintenance and all of that is playing a huge role in the MRO sector as well. I'm learning a lot. Everything that I'm reading and talking to people and understanding, the ins and outs of the industry is quite complex. But I'm enjoying it and really getting to grips with who's who in the industry and who does what.
There's a lot of new words, new acronyms, engine types, all that stuff, which is, again, takes you years probably to get your head around, but it's the complexity, isn't it, that I think strikes you immediately, that it's such a complex industry. Very much so. Greg, welcome, Greg. So, Greg, you've got a different background, but sort of similar in the sense that it is about transport, I guess, so automotive. Spent many years on automotive magazines. So, same question to you, really. How are you finding the airline industry? And how does it relate or differ from what you've experienced in your previous career?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, any business title to an extent has a lot of the same topics involving digitisation, modernisation and efficiency. I would say there are a number of differences between the automotive sector and the aviation industry, though. Not least that there aren't a lot of people that I knew from my old jobs, which I'd known many of them for decades, and I come into a new sector and have to meet entirely new people, which is always interesting.
Yeah. So you look, all your old contacts are ghosting you now. You're in aviation, are they?
That's right. Yeah, they don't talk to me no more. But no, it's great. It's great to get to all the bigger shows that we attend, meet new people, talk about something different. And yes, I've been really getting my teeth into it over the last year.
Yeah. So we mentioned, obviously, you cover the cabin, so that's everything inside the aircraft. And actually, you started getting on a year ago now. The first event you went to was Aircraft Interiors Expo in Hamburg, and that was one of my first trade shows as well. And a bit like what Craig was saying, you saw how complex and diverse the industry is. The amount of things that go into a cabin is quite astonishing, and they can fill a messa that is 8 halls worth of exhibitors showcasing all sorts of things. But what was your sort of first perceptions of the industry, having started out there in the Hamburg?
That's right. The cabin is full of products, as you say, and I guess what surprised me was how many different suppliers there are competing for what is, after all, a fairly small industry. There aren't that many aircraft flying in the world when you compare it to how many cars there are driving on the road. But there are people competing on all kinds of things with points of difference. I learned a lot about satellites in my trip to AIX last year, and many more besides. And I guess also the difference between writing about, say, avionics and writing about cabin equipment is more that it's something people touch and use and make a decision on whether they're going to fly on one airline or aircraft over another. So the market is there, and it's big, and there's an endless series of debates and arguments to cover in it. So it's very interesting.
Craig mentioned sustainability, and we've given you the sustainability sort of gig to cover, as well as the magazines you've got to produce. And obviously sustainability is a massive thing. Everyone's talking about trying to make everything in the cabin lighter, and that's always a big theme. We produced our first ABN special towards the end of last year, focusing on sustainability, to come out at the same time as COP28, and we'll be doing something similar this year. Just any thoughts on where the industry is from your point of view in terms of sustainability? I mean, Automotive is also doing this because it's another industry that relies on fossil fuels. So any thoughts on sustainability and how the industry is trying to grasp the challenges of that?
Well, it's got a lot to do. There's a lot of talk about SAF. There's far more talk about SAF than there is actually SAF at the moment. With sustainable aviation fuel, I should say, this industry is, as Craig was saying, a bit of an alphabet soup of acronyms. There's a lot of talk about it, but at the moment, actually covering concerted action is a little bit lacking. Certainly, the debate in the industry is how do you get investors to back new technologies? I mean, not just SAF, but future technologies like hydrogen and electric and other such systems. Meanwhile, of course, as you mentioned, there's debate about how to further lightweight products, and that with everything to do with whenever you do something to do with the environment, you find there is a trade-off. For example, yes, you can make a lot of things out of carbon fibre and make them fractionally lighter, but unlike aluminium, which is infinitely recyclable, carbon fibre just creates a huge mess in itself. And that's just one small aspect of how the industry is grappling to enable people to fly, because flying itself isn't a problem. It's the emissions that and the waste that is the issue. While there is a debate happening, it makes sense that there is a business title out there covering it and making people in the business aware of what other people are doing, so that they can further improve what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And actually, we've got a podcast coming up in this series the next few weeks. We've interviewed a British startup called Aviation, which is making SAF, or will be making SAF. The plan is out of general household waste. So look out for that. I think it's really interesting. And again, it's one of those technologies that could really just turn the dial on this kind of thing. Because as you say, the problem with SAF is there's just not enough of it. There's plenty of demand. There's just no supply. So that's one area we'll be covering on ABN Cast regularly. I have no doubt, because sustainability will be with us, I think, forever. One of the other big let's talk about your latest magazines first before we talk about other issues that we cover. Craig, you've just completed one of our biggest MRO managements probably of the year. It's a big 76-page whopper. It is. Just some of the themes in that you pulled out, some of the content.
Yeah, I think along with our kind of usual features, so interviews and some opinion pieces, some of the in-depth stories that we covered and the topics was supply chain software and the developments in that space, and also we covered a look at what's happening, market activity for MRO in the Americas. So we're sending this magazine to be distributed at MRO Americas event.
Next week, isn't it, in Chicago?
Yeah. So that was a really good feature and helps me understand, some of the themes that might be presented in Chicago next week. So that was good. Yeah. But actually, one of the kind of really big themes throughout our March issue was kind of the recruitment challenges in the industry, especially with engineers and aircraft maintenance technicians, and how the industry is recognising that more needs to be done.
Yeah.
On attracting more people to start a career as an aviation engineer, but also creating more diverse workforces and retaining skilled talent. March issue is out now. Yeah,
and that is just let's talk about that issue a bit more, because it is a huge issue, and since in the year that I've sort of been in the aviation sector, people and talent has just constantly come up as being probably the biggest issue. Like, we've talked about sustainability, but in terms of the pressing issues today, the lack of talent, particularly in engineering, has been quite critical, and one of the impacts of COVID. We went to the Paris Air Show last year, and everyone said this is the big talking point at Paris Air Show, and I was at MRO Middle East recently, and again, a number of panels on it, and there's a particular issue here, and it's why we've launched under ABN our Best Places to Work in Aviation awards. But it's more than just an award. It's all about us being able to talk more about this issue, to find companies that are doing a good job, their employees telling us they're doing a great job, and to really put them on a pedestal and say this is what good practice looks like in terms of recruitment and training and whatever. So how's that going, Craig? I know you've been given the job to sort of produce more content around best places to work, and you've been interviewing a number of people who are, I guess, sort of epitomise the modern workforce. So
yeah, absolutely. I think the topic in general is something that we've been covering quite a lot in both the magazine and on the ABN website. It's no secret that the industry, kind of has these workforce challenges. So it's good that everyone is recognising that more needs to be done, and especially around best places to work in aviation. We want to make sure that we're giving the right people the opportunity to tell us what they're doing within their organisations and how their organisations are making that step to bring more people on and nurture talent and make sure that they've got the right skills in place. Recently online we've been covering a few of the recently announced aviation ambassadors from the Department for Transport, which have been really good. I've been interviewing some people who've come up with some really good stories for me, and really interesting to see how they're taking on their role as an aviation ambassador and really helping to help the industry realise and understand that more needs to be done, right from recruiting or making the industry aware that the young generation are the future.
I think this is one of the biggest concerns, that the industry as a whole isn't appealing to that new generation of particularly engineers who, this is a job you can't do from home. You have to be sort of, I guess, in the office or the the warehouse or factory. You have to be there physically, and they're finding it very difficult to appeal to that younger generation. So the industry's probably got a job to do to sort of show what it's like. A modern aircraft MRO facility is not like it used to be. It's I've not actually visited one yet, but I'm told they are incredible places for technology, incredibly clean because you have to have everything spotless. So it's a very different industry to what it was, and I think it's important that we help to get that message out there to sort of the wider audience. So look out for more stuff on Best Places. We'll be announcing the winners towards the end of this year. And we're looking to do a nice evening celebration of the winners at this year's World Aviation Festival in October. Back over to Greg. You Low Cost and Regional Airline Business Quarterly. So the first edition is out already. Just talk us through what were you featuring in that edition? What was the most important sort of aspects of our first LCRAB of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a technology-focused one, the first one of the year. We cover all aspects of the regional and the low-cost industries in that magazine, and we delved a little bit deeper than we normally would into the workings of aeroplanes and bits and pieces like that. It's kind of the special focus in that issue. Funnily enough, we've got a bit more technology coming up. We've got a feature about IT in the next one.
Okay. This is the next low cost.
The next low cost,
Q2
yes, that's
one.
right. Yeah, Q2, and we're looking at the design of propellers. As well, which is you get propeller aircraft in regional aviation.
Yeah.
We've also we attended the last ERA meeting, and
that's the
European Regions Association.
Yes. Okay.
There's a lot of debate at the moment about some EU rules that are being introduced that have taken a decade to be drafted and actually have nothing of what anybody requested in it. So there's some fairly strong and clear views on that we've got coming up, and we're covering some of the low cost carriers as well. We were talking earlier about sustainability. We're actually going to see Wizz Air, who believe and honestly believe they have found a way to make SAF from raw sewage. So let's see what they're going to produce.
Won't make the obvious joke there.
No, let's leave that alone.
Yeah. In terms of cabin, I know you're working on your own bumper edition for cabin, which is the one that will be going to AIX in Hamburg. That's another 76-ish pages, so lots to do. But what are the emerging themes going to be in that, do you think?
Well, of course, we're covering what's going to turn up at AIX as far as we know before the event happens. So we have got some coverage on that. We have a kind of two-pronged approach to looking at some aspects around seating in this coming issue. One about the design of seats and how it helps the flight attendants on board to do their jobs by having seats for passengers that are more accessible and all the rest of it. We also have a slightly more technical look at the foams and fabrics that go up to making the seats in a separate article, which again you're lifting a little another world with that. There's issues to do with flammability, of course, and longevity as well as lightweight. But there are so many companies competing for a same market with different approaches that have to be signed off and certified and all the rest of it. We're also looking at uniforms in the issue.
Okay. Yeah.
So that should be good.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like you say, it's a very diverse sector. You can be writing about all sorts of different aspects.
That's right. I've got plenty of pages. So
from fashion to foams,
all sorts of art. 3D printing. We've got lighting in there.
Yeah.
If you pick up a copy, you'll be reading it till the next quarter.
Actually, 3D printing you mentioned, and that's actually going to be a big focus on the next MRO, which is out pretty soon, next week, I think, isn't it?
Very soon, yes.
You've been busy. Again, 3D printing is interesting, isn't it? Because it's a piece of technology, but it does relate to the sustainability side of things.
Yes.
But we've seen it exhibited at various trade shows, and it's incredible technology. It looks like magic. This stuff just appears. But what are we saying in this next MRO about 3D printing?
Yeah, it was interesting for me to get this article in the magazine, and as I was reading and understanding more about the topic, I thought actually, this is really interesting stuff, and I thought, and actually what we've done is taken the topic of 3D printing and used that as the cover image for the magazine, which is looking really good. But the article essentially, takes a deep dive into the impact of 3D printing on the sector in terms of the provision of spare parts and components, and its benefits, the process of 3D printing and the benefits that can bring to the industry, what sorts of parts and components it's suitable for. So it's been really interesting to understand, this. In actual fact, it's been around for quite some time, but I think it's now gaining a bit more momentum in terms of how it can actually impact.
Proper use case, isn't it? And actually, when I have discussed it with someone who's a real advocate, the case they put for it is more to do with fixing supply chain issues, which not only aviation has been suffering from, but all industries post-COVID. And the way 3D printing has this potential ability, if the industry really embraces it, to bring the manufacture of required components, spare parts, to the point of use, and it allows you to order the numbers of things you want, not have to order many thousands of them and then warehouse them. So it's got one of those potential things you think is potentially revolutionary. It's just, is the industry going to pick it up? So we'll see, won't we? I guess it's one of those things.
I think there's potential there, so be interesting to see what happens going forward.
Before we finish, there's one other very important thing that Craig very much works on, because he's the MRO management editor, and that's our annual conference, the Predictive Aircraft Maintenance Conference. We're about to announce details for this year's event, which we'll keep to ourselves for now, but very exciting. And last year's event, which Craig and I attended and went extremely well. It was in London, 2 days in London, went from 1 day to 2. I thought it was we thought it was a very well attended, excellent event. Some great discussions had, some really good sessions. You mentioned predictive aircraft maintenance before as being something that you've sort of picked up as a key theme.
Yeah.
What are you expecting us to get out of this year's event, and why is this area so important for aviation?
What I'm expecting from this year is a build on from last year's event. We had some really good discussions about how the data that technology can give the industry can be applied to making better informed decisions about aircraft health and management and maintenance. So what I want to do with building the agenda for this year is dive a little deeper into those areas. There was a lot of also discussion around collaboration within the industry for predictive maintenance and learning from each other and how the industry can pull together and understand this topic more. I think there's a really good topic or discussion that needs to have around the workforce element as well in predictive maintenance. So those themes that we're bringing across from aviation business news in general is going to have an impact on what we see at the conference as well.
And I know you've putting together an advisory board as well from the industry. So some of our sponsors, but some people who we just think are excellent advisors to our agenda. So how's that going?
Yeah, really good. I'm hoping to announce who's on the board in the next couple of weeks. And the idea really is for me to use those experts in the industry to help me craft and create an agenda that is going to be really impactful and something that is going to be what the delegates are going to find really interesting, and make sure that we've got the right discussions going on. Because that's bringing everyone together under the same roof. On the topic is important. Yeah.
So the plan is we will be running this event again in November. Again, details will be coming out very, very shortly. So do look out for that, because I think there's some exciting plans for this year. But we're looking at mid to early November for the event. So sort of put that in your diary. Look, time is probably beaten us, but just a quick last word from the guys. Looking forward, Greg, do you see an industry that's sort of positive? Craig mentioned recovery from COVID. Get the sense that we're probably pretty much put it behind us now. People are looking forward. What's your general sense, just to wrap up, on where the aviation industry is in terms of its positivity going forward for the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about people, isn't it? At the end of the day, there's the industry needs to attract more people and replace the ones that left during the pandemic. A positive, certainly we're looking at the low cost and regional market. I mean, practically every aircraft is now flying with a load factor in the high 90s. So the market has certainly come back. There's a lot of foot traffic going through airports, which means there is money available to upgrade those facilities. There's optimism. It's just about getting some new faces and new people into the industry to move it on to the next stage, and that's what we're all about writing about. So. Yeah.
And final word, Craig. As Greg says, it seems that the biggest challenge is that we've got, almost as an industry, more demand than can be coped with. So we saw the immediate return from COVID, and there was just not enough people about to actually cope with the number of customers wanting to fly. So demand on that side doesn't seem to be an issue. It's being efficient and operationally efficient behind the scenes, which is clearly very much in the MRO ballpark. So how do you see things going? Do you think things begin getting better and better in that sense?
Absolutely, and I think, just to really echo what Greg says, it is about the people. I think the industry needs to concentrate on that talent pipeline. I think there's organisations out there that are establishing engineering academies, which is really good to see. So I think going forward, I'm going to be really interested to see how those elements of the industry are going to play a part in the future. But I think it's optimistic. So yeah, really good.
Good. Right. Well, look, we'll wrap it up there. So thanks for your time, guys. I know you're super busy because I make you busy. So, thanks for your time. As I said at the beginning, you'll hear a lot of me on ABN Cast, but we will bring both Greg and Craig in as and when required to run the podcast, etc. So, we hope you enjoy the podcasts as they come out. We'll be publishing them regularly, so do subscribe where you can. And do feedback to us about some of the things we should be covering. We're very open to interviewing guests, covering certain topics, etc. So there'll be a lot of opportunity to do that going forward. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you or hearing from you in the next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. We're delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABN Cast. And while they do not endorse the opinions and views expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for open discussion and debate around the future of aviation. Amadeus's technology powers the global travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, always with an eye on how the industry can evolve, on how the travel industry can better serve travellers, bring people together, explore new experiences, and do business. Travel should be meaningful and personal, and it must be centred around the traveller, which is why Amadeus is investing to create their technology to put more power into people's hands. As an industry, we only progress by working together, and Amadeus's open platform is connecting the entire global travel and hospitality ecosystem. Our environment, our communities, and our destinations matter. Together with our customers and industry partners, Amadeus is working to make travel a force for social and environmental good, and ABN Cast will be placing a specific focus on these themes in future editions. To find out more, visit www.amadeus.com. And make sure you subscribe to ABN Cast, which you can do on Aviation Business News' YouTube channel or on Spotify, so you don't miss out on any future editions. And please tell your friends and colleagues all about us. Thanks very much.